Menhera. This was the word that the community associated with Rushia before and after her termination. Though a few people originally had the Menhera sentiment with a sense of endearment, after her termination, it was laced with pity and scorn. A lot of things has happened to Rushia ever since, but now that both parties involved in the drama have said their piece over the situation, we finally have a resolute conclusion to the story. We can finally have the full story of Uruha Rushia's termination. Before I begin this video, I'd just like to tell you all to not flood the parties mentioned in this video, nor harass them in any way. All information that's mentioned here will only cover those that are published in the internet, so there might be information that's filtered by the language barrier or insiders who knows more than what I'll present. And yes, I know who Rushia is now, but I don't want to bring it up because I want her to have the peaceful rebirth that she needs. This was big for her and to the place that she is right now, so I'd rather not bring it back up. That being said, let's get to the video. Before we talk about the drama, let's talk about Uruha Rushia first. With a whopping 1.5 million subscribers, Rushia was one of the most successful VTubers in the world. Flat jokes aside, Rushia had her own fair share of charms that not many people in the industry were really capable of. When it comes to yandere-style VTubers, you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone that can play it better than Rushia. The stark contrast of her extremely soft and gentle voice to her ear-bleeding and hilarious screams was one of Rushia's most iconic traits. In fact, her scream is an icon for Hololive itself. As part of Hololive Generation 3, the generation that saved the company and cemented their spot in the Japanese market, Rushia was a very important person to Hololive and to the community. There was no doubt about that. However, one of the bigger reasons that Rushia was so successful compared to her peers was because she played a specific role and appealed into a specific experience. Utilizing her yandere-esque appeal and her slightly unhinged anger issues, Rushia played into what is commonly referred to as the girlfriend experience, where she played a very needy, possessive, angry, and jealous girlfriend for her fans. For some people, it was charming, especially to those lonely and looking for comfort in a time period as disastrous as 2020 and 2021. But the downside to that is that it fostered quite a parasocial relationship with her fans. For a lot of VTubers, their fans screaming how much they want to fuck, marry, or is in love with their Oshis is caked in a lot of irony and can be hilarious. A few might be serious, but most of the time it's just shitposting. But when Rushia's fans said that they were in love with Rushia, a considerably higher number of them were serious. But she actually liked that. Rushia liked playing the girlfriend experience and she liked her viewers' reactions to her approach. And it's evident in the case where Rushia's birthday merch on January 2022 was a breakout steal for many fandads because, yeah, she and Cover knew what they were doing. But while profitability, community passion, and fan loyalty is the plus side in engaging such a dynamic with the audience, the downside to that is that a significant portion of the fans can hate you just as much as they love you. How they can even hate anyone else they deem a threat to their fictional relationship with you. Their loyalty becomes a shackle and profit will be tied to how much you keep being their virtual partner. While idol culture amplifies the problem, it's a problem that's not really exclusive to Hololive or VTubers. It's a celebrity problem in general. Not only that, while Rushia's anger issues, screaming, and possessiveness of her fans were at first just part of her character, a couple months down the line we'd soon learn that, actually, those issues may not just be an in-character gimmick at all. Perhaps those were actually real and were signs of a few mental health-related issues. She was reckless, often getting into situations that genuinely worried her fans, her managers, and even the company. Heck, she was even technologically illiterate at times. But despite these flaws, it seemed like Rushia wasn't really in any danger of making a big mistake in the company. She seemed to know how to handle her fans well, and to many people, she was just chalked up as one of the few fun menheras in Hololive. Not that it's really a big deal since a lot of VTubers are menheras anyway. But yes, all was good for the world. But that would be challenged come February of 2020. On the 10th of February, Rushia and Miko would collab for a GTA 5 stream. It was a fun time for many people, especially considering that Miko and GTA was an iconic duo. But the fun time with the fans would come to a screeching halt when these notifications came up on screen. After the stream ends, the VOD is taken down and two channels are left either salivating for potential drama or fuming for a potential betrayal. Now to us foreigners, this would mean nothing, right? It's just a friend informing the other that they were going home. However, in Japanese, this implies that he was going back to their home, making it seem like they must have been living together. And also considering that Mi-chan is a personal nickname for Rushia's personal identity, then it wasn't long for people to think that she was in a relationship. But what makes this worse was the fact that the sender wasn't some rando, it was Mafu Mafu, a really big Japanese singer, bigger than any Japanese VTuber even, and is one of the founders of a VTuber agency in Japan. Why this is a problem is for a multitude of reasons. The first being that Mafu Mafu also has a similar fanbase to Russia's, the parasocial kind but on the opposite gender. I mean, they even had a similar merch at one point. I'm not gonna touch about their reactions here, but essentially, both people catered to basically the same demographic with a different gender. The second reason why this is special was because Uruha Rushia had been exposed by being familiar with Mafu Mafu before. Back in 2018, she and Mafu Mafu was caught in a drama where fans speculated that they both lived together because they had similar looking items in their household. Mafu Mafu would address that drama by debunking the speculations and saying that it's all bullshit. And with this new drama breaking out and the fact that Mafu's message implied that they might have been living together, people were starting to think that Mafu Mafu lied. In any case, this got trending everywhere, with memberships bleeding, subscribers slowly decreasing, and hate messages ensuing. Rushia was in one hell of a terrible phase in her career. But it wasn't necessarily the end for her, because while she might have received a shit ton of backlash from this, the vast majority of her fans and the VTuber community supported Rushia. The We Love Rushia hashtag got trending on social media, and it even got in a bit of controversy because, you know, on that same day, Mafu Mafu apologized and clarified that no, Rushia and Mafu Mafu were in fact not dating. But a few people didn't actually believe that. Well, lots of people didn't actually believe that. Some people would actually express their support for the relationship if it was true, believing that Rushia can be in a relationship whenever she wants to. Heck, most people didn't even give a shit about them at all. They just liked looking at drama. And there were those that were optimistic of the situation, believing that it was going to blow over in the next 2 weeks or so. Because previously, Matsuri's roommate and Towa was in a situation where penis havers interrupted their streams, and they were fine after the initial drama, so they expected essentially the same for this. It was all up to Rushia and how she'd handle the situation. Yeah, she was going to lose a lot of members and even super chat revenue, but people believed that she was going to come out of this fine. However, Rushia was not taking it well. Hell, she took it in perhaps the worst way possible. She was tweeting out extremely worrying things that had the implications of committing unalive, and she'd even wipe her personal accounts. Japanese eBay was apparently chock full of people trying to sell their Rushia merch and everything. While Rushia acknowledged the massive support for her, it definitely seemed like the negativity got to her first and foremost. Due to her being overwhelmed and wanting to respond to the situation, she reached out to one of Japan's bigger YouTubers, Korekore. Since Korekore is the news and gossip YouTuber in Japan, Rushia thought it was a good idea to tell him about the situation, and in turn, Korekore would tell everyone in YouTube with the intention of getting people to calm the fuck down and debunk the fact that Mafu Mafu lived together with Rushia or is even in a relationship with him. Other Japanese content creators would also claim to be contacted by Rushia, especially Narukami Sabaki, one of the most notorious members of the VTuber community, one that Hololive, Nijisanji, and a lot of other VTubers have condemned. She'd tell him about her woes as a VTuber, particularly this drama. However, she didn't exactly share that much to Sabaki, so while he's somewhat involved, he's not really a big actor in the controversy. Heck, he even tried to make Rushia look good. And while the entire community was on fire due to this drama, both Rushia and CoverCorp remained silent. A few days later, on the 14th of February, CoverCorp would issue a response that people in the community were genuinely happy with, essentially telling people that they support Rushia, that they let her do whatever she wants, that it's none of their business. This was a massive dub for Hololive and the community, since this was CoverCorp setting a precedent for gachikois and essentially telling people to go fuck themselves if they got angry. With this response, people were finally optimistic about the future of Rushia. They were sure she'd be back in the following weeks. Sometime after that, Mafu Mafu went on Twitcast to redeem himself in the eyes of his fans, in a sense. See, in the past, Mafu said that he didn't involve himself with women, and considering that now people already know he, Rushia, and a few other women are essentially his playmates, especially in Apex, he wanted to apologize for that. For, having female friends. With Mikineko's permission, he'd even show their DMs way back in 2018, where Mikineko profusely apologizes to Mafu Mafu over the incident despite not being actively at fault, and with Mafu saying that he was basically using the things his fans sent him. letting his fans confirm that yes, Mafu and Mikeneko was not living together, and that they aren't a couple, only that they coincidentally had the same things. However, a day later, Mikeneko would then go to Twitcast again and saying the words, it's hard to say why she dropped this all of a sudden. On one hand, it could be referring to Mafu's stream where he released their DMs and clears his name, but that would be odd considering that Mafu had gotten permission from her first. And besides, there was literally nothing here that would have put Rushia in a bad light. Some say it was directed towards Korekore, but if anyone actually knows for sure, do enlighten us in the comments. On February 2022, Mikeneko would launch her own personal YouTube channel and would even follow up the next day by uploading a video labeled Test. This was either concerning or relieving to a few people. Perhaps both. Concerning because this meant something bad was gonna happen to her and that this was essentially her contingency plan, and relieving because at least they knew that Mikeneko hasn't offed herself yet like how she said she probably would multiple times. However, it wasn't until the more keen in the community to find this set of tweets, which was believed to be another one of Rushia's alternate accounts, and it implied that she was going to be booted out of the company. And a few hours later, this would then be confirmed, as Cover Corp shakes the VTuber community with one hell of a terrible announcement. On the 24th of February, Cover Corp announced that Rushia, for some time now, has been leaking sensitive and confidential company information, that she broke NDA, and because of this, she was fired from the company, effective immediately. Her fans weren't given a chance to mourn, Rushia herself wasn't treated with the same relative respect that Cover Corp gave Alloway, nor the glorious send-out that they gave Coco. Hell, it wasn't even like the Hitomi Chris situation. This was worse, because Rushia was their biggest super chat earner and was a beloved and well-known name in the industry, and Cover Corp just publicly humiliated and executed her, with her unable to appeal it, and with her channel being nuked by March, and with her unable to say anything to defend herself. The community raged following this. People flung all kinds of shit and accusations against Cover Corp. Community members said their pieces, and hell, even Kali got herself in a little bit of drama with her reactions, since apparently, the Indonesian and English branches weren't notified of this decision beforehand. But the most shocking thing about this announcement was the fact that the Hololive talents, aside from Marine and Pecora, didn't exactly react strongly to the situation, because as this announcement was released, a lot of concerned fans went over to get their reactions, or thoughts over the situation. But the response was cold, as if they didn't exactly care that much. This told people either two things. One, Rushia fucked up in a way that pissed off other Hololive members and supported Cover's decision, or two, that the friendship Rushia had with the rest of Hololive was fake all along, which is one hell of a stretch, but a surprisingly significant amount of people genuinely believed that. Other Hololive members were still continuing on with their schedules and plans like nothing was going on, and especially Fubuki. A lot of people turned to Fubuki for this situation, and the reason for that is simple. She's one of the most important pillars of Hololive, not for the company itself but for the community. Fubuki gained this reputation among Hololive fans because she backs her words with actions, as we've seen during Coco's incident. To give you a reminder, most of Fubuki's audience, popularity, and income back in 2019 and 2020 all came from China. Her popularity there was second only to Aqua. Fubuki was in 2 years with her Chinese audience, so for her to willingly commit career suicide on that audience by interacting with Coco, to openly defend her, to imply her condemning Cover Corp's decision to suspend her, that says a lot about her character. Fubuki axed her 2-long-year career in China just to support her friend. This is why people hold Fubuki's words with weight. This is why people genuinely believe in Fubuki, because her actions prove she's not one to be easily swayed by money, reputation, or pressure. So for her to not defend Rushia even in the slightest, for her to show such little sympathy, that's a big indication of something big going on. Additionally, Cover did this much to their biggest super chat earner, and they were willing to go through the costly logistical nightmare of refunding $1 million worth of merch. All of this implies that whatever it was that Rushia did, it was grave enough for Cover to fire their biggest earner, for Hololive members to dismiss her, and for the company to tank a lot of reputational damage. So while in the first few hours people were up with pitchforks ready to condemn Cover Corp, after the rage died down and so many context clues were being put together, most people started to second-guess everything and even side with Cover Corp. Last week, they had defended Rushia, and given the fact that Rushia was not the most emotionally stable person in the company, and that she had a track record to be absolutely fucking stupid in stressful situations, people found it believable that she would do something huge enough to warrant being terminated. I mean, there was still a lot of infighting, but the general community started to accept it. A couple hours later, Pecora would dedicate a stream addressing the drama, alongside Marine and the rest of 3rd Gen. However, it seemed like only Marine and Pecora were particularly emotional over the situation. Noel and Flair, to many people, was somewhat cold and indifferent, giving people the idea that perhaps they were both pissed at Rushia. Rushia, now Mikaneko, would then post her reactions to the situation, crying, telling how the world was so cruel, how everything was so unfair and one-sided, and even went harder with her implications of suicide. But the most interesting part about this reaction was apparently how she was going to talk to a lawyer before promptly deleting the tweet. This got a lot of people acting up and was actually the main reason why I held off talking about the drama a couple months ago, because I was waiting what she was going to do with lawyers. We'll soon learn further into the video. So since a lot of people are still angry but can't exactly be angry at Cover Corp, since all that's happening implies that Cover was actually on the right here, they started to look back. They looked back over a lot of clues and find out about how Korekore leaked a lot of things about Rushia that potentially got her terminated, with the first and foremost being the fact that she sent him DMs with her and her manager. When people saw this one clip with Korekore saying he was told by Rushia to not share it with anyone, that painted a target on his back. Overseas fans directed their anger towards Korekore for milking the drama for content and views, because it resulted to the loss of someone's career. Korekore would be stressed and attempt to defend himself after an influx of angry foreign comments flooded his YouTube videos, saying that while yes, it may be partially his fault for giving Cover Corp the hint that Rushia was sharing information to third parties, it wasn't really his fault overall. He had already explained Mafu and Rushia's relationship in the past, and hell, even Mafu would back this up by saying that Rushia was in a one-sided relationship with him, with Rushia thinking that Mafu liked her, but that really the guy was just being nice. He also explained their history together, sharing concerning information that, in the past, Rushia apparently had trouble with a senpai in Hololive and management. She told Korekore that if she were to die, she'd want him to release this information and make the people who apparently harassed her to suffer. Lastly, Kore explained that Rushia came to him because she felt that management was basically neglecting her after the whole Discord situation, being only told to shut the fuck up and lay low for a while, most probably since February 11 was a national holiday in Japan, while 12 and 13 was a weekend, and since staying quiet was standard procedure for this kind of drama. But in any case, Korekore took partial responsibility for the drama. Korekore was just the breadcrumb trail that Cover Corp needed to unravel more of what Rushia had done. And surprisingly, most people that followed the situation took this response well. At this point, it was clear that Kore wasn't exactly to blame for the situation, leaving angry fans to confirm what they already knew at the back of their heads, that Rushia was crazy from the get-go, and that maybe, just maybe, all of this was primarily her fault. At this point, everyone assumed the worst of what Rushia did, leading even a number of people to genuinely dislike her now. Such assumptions included doxing other Hololive members, leaking their relationship with other people, their addresses, and all sorts of juicy information a news/drama channel would want to hear about. Yet most people just think that this was unfortunate. Whatever things Rushia said to third parties, she wasn't doing so out of malice or spite. She was just being stupid, making terrible and impulsive decisions that ultimately led to her downfall. It was a regrettable situation. But we're not done here. To add insult to injury, a bunch of Rushia's fans would come out and reveal that Rushia was apparently sending personal messages to her biggest super chatters and whales. Not only that, Mafu would then release a statement finalizing the situation and washing his hands off of the shitfest by saying that she and Rushia made a mutual decision to no longer be talking to one another, and that Cover Corp would offer refunds to people who wanted to go to the third fest just to see Rushia. Rushia's internet career was crashing down, and with rats speculating so much about what she could have done, with the general VTuber community turning their backs on her, it all seemed like Rushia's legacy in the internet was not the cute green-haired yandere necromancer that fans loved her for, but the Menhera in Hololive who could have ruined Hololive and her friends, and now ruined her career. After Rushia's departure, one might think that she'd learn from her mistakes and try to get back up from this as graceful as possible, since this all happened because she was impulsive and overreacted, to fix her mental health issues and whatnot. But that's not exactly what happened. While Rushia did say that she was seeking professional mental help, she was still impulsive and extremely sensitive, often lashing out even against her own fans, still tweeting out cryptic messages before nuking them, and still letting the hate overwhelm her. Bystanders and fans and even friends like Kason can only feel so sorry for her and ask her to stop spurging on Twitter, since that's the kind of reaction antis want. While a lot of people had already moved on from the situation, Rushia still hasn't, nor did her fans, nor did her antis. People still harassed Rushia weeks after the drama subsided. One of the instances was when she was accused of account buying in Genshin Impact by some random Twitter user. He'd fake a conversation with himself that Mikaneko was buying Genshin Impact accounts. A day or two later, Nanase would later admit that he made the entire thing up for internet updates and to just make fun of her. Antis would also impersonate her and buy accounts, posting it online to really drum up some more drama. Hell, some people were even trying to track her. So yeah, even after what's happened, she wasn't off the hook. Many people just wanted her to move on, get a new model and re-debut since she was a millionaire, right? But she would later on say that she still had financial issues due to YouTube, CoverCorp, and Japanese tax laws getting in the way. However, eventually she did get herself a new model and stream a bit more frequently, but most of it was only for members, on Twitcast, or she'd private the entire thing after it was over. These were only temporary celebrations and brief moments of happiness to save away the depressing shit that awaited her on the cyberspace. Hell, the fact that she was excluded from HoloFest must have done a lot of damage on her part since she'd stream at the same time the event took place. It's a bit gut-wrenching to imagine that her friends are having fun doing a concert while she was all alone in her house aching and regretting what had happened. If only she approached someone else. If only she didn't overreact and spurge. If only she didn't stream that day. If only she had listened. After that, there was a bit of peace. The occasional rants and spurging here and there and before promptly deleting it, but the story hasn't developed much. As months passed, people moved on from the situation. Hololive fans got acclimated to a post-Rushia Hololive community, and Mikaneko herself would painfully carve her own rugged path towards her new life as an indie VTuber. However, come the 24th of June and Mikaneko drops this bombshell of a statement, which caused a bit of a stir in the community. The statement would overall say that there was a lot of slander and accusations tossed around her way because of the rats people made about the situation, and she'd say that she has no bad blood between CoverCorp and the Hololive members. However, the most interesting part of the announcement was how apparently CoverCorp made a mistake in the announcement by claiming that Rushia sent false information to third parties. Rushia would say that this was wrong, and that she didn't actually leak anything else other than her DMs with her manager. But the most interesting part about this to many people was the fact that CoverCorp didn't want to make a correction in their original statement, and that in Rushia's words, had the company's approval to post this. This led many people to conclude that this was CoverCorp's way of apologizing for the whole situation. Hell, she was even allowed to mention her character as the Necromancer. Following this, people who sided with Rushia felt vindicated, claiming that this changed everything. For a long time, Rushia was forced to be silent, and now that she was able to say her side of the story, the situation was different. They started thinking that Rushia did nothing wrong, and that it was majorly CoverCorp's fault that all of this happened. Again, since this had CoverCorp's permission, they thought Cover was acknowledging that mistake and trying to make amends. This sentiment would spread all over the community. However, on the next day, CoverCorp would post a PR statement doubling down on their past announcement, saying that they're not apologizing for anything and did not make mistakes. But the purpose of the statement was really to address the misinformation and speculation that people were making. And the community's reaction? Well, oddly enough, I found more people not really giving a fuck. While yeah, some people didn't believe Cover and tried to cause a commotion, most people, I feel, didn't just care about the situation anymore. The deed was done. Everyone said their side of the story. It was just Rushia fans causing the noise this time around. There wasn't any significant infighting that went anywhere. People just wanted to move on. And it seems like that's what's happening now. While many people, including myself, thought Rushia was going to respond to this, surprisingly, she didn't. This was it. It was over. Rushia was able to finally say her piece, which I imagine is a tremendous relief to her chest and could potentially help her move forward, while the Hololive community can at least see Rushia off in a more positive light. That her legacy moving forward isn't the Menhera who ruined her own career. Well, it still kinda is, but at least now there's an argument to be had. There's much more understanding towards that kind of legacy now. that while yes, she did ruin her own career by making stupid decisions, at the very least it's something that she won't be disliked or hated for. At least now, fans can rest easy knowing that she's not the menhera who doxed her own friends just to save her own skin like what many people believed. That she's not the menhera who wanted to and could have ruined Hololive. At least now, Rushia can have a clearer path moving forward. While I imagine she's still not quite mentally stable or even capable to return to her prime, because she really is still quite haunted by this, I think I speak for 99% of us when I say that we wish her the best moving forward. This is the part of the video where the facts end and the opinions begin, because I imagine a lot of you are still confused, especially on the last part of the story where Mikaneko drops a nuke on the community, and that's mostly what I'm going to be talking about in this segment. So if you're here solely to know what exactly happened, you can click off the video. But since the statements Rushia and Cover Corp released are mostly vague posting, you might be somewhat confused or unsatisfied. So if you want to watch me try to analyze the information we got, stay for a bit longer. However, before I do, I'd like to put up a disclaimer that you're free to have your own analysis over the situation. My word isn't gospel, and I want you all to keep your speculations contained and not spurge about it on Rushia or Cover's platforms. Still here? Good, because I'm going full schizo. Most of my thoughts are going to be mainly surrounding those two conflicting statements, because while at first it may seem like Cover Corp is debunking or rejecting Rushia's statement, when I look at it closer, it just seems like it's them agreeing to disagree. Let's talk about Rushia's statement for a moment. Now, everything here is fine and dandy, but it gets rough when we look at the part where she said that Cover Corp made a blatant mistake. Because what Rushia says here is that she didn't really make the kind of mistakes that Cover Corp described on their initial statement, that she only leaked their DMs between her and her manager, basically saying that Cover Corp exaggerated it, which I agree to a certain extent. However, when we look at Cover Corp's initial statement, they said that Rushia leaked information for quite some time, meaning that they did not terminate Rushia for leaking this one DM with her manager, but for a lot of things too. And you have to realize, while Rushia mentioned what she shared with third parties at the time of the drama, she did not mention what else she shared to third parties on other times. She did not mention a lot of things, like how she said that she was bullied by other senpais. She didn't even comment on the part where she ignored and shat on her manager while the drama took place. And lastly, she did not deny that she breached NDA. From what we've seen, I genuinely believe that Cover can and will let things slide if those mistakes are just nothing burgers, and especially so if it's their top super chat earner. Then again, maybe it really was just a mistake. Even big corpos can slip up. The thing to note about Rushia's statement was that she didn't really set this up to attack Cover Corp or call them out like what many people believe, but more like to address the speculations around the community that Rushia was doing a lot of heinous things that warranted her termination, especially the speculation that Rushia doxed and threw her own friends under the bus to save her own ass, or how her colleagues was the people she referred to when she tried to pull off a 13 Reasons Why. But that begs the question, why did Hololive members barely react to the situation? It can't be that Cover forced them to be emotionless too, because if Kali can make a knee-jerk reaction loosely implying her disapproval, if Marine and Pecora were able to break down and genuinely cry for Rushia in public, why didn't anyone else mourn her at that time? Why did Watame, Hololive's resident crybaby, barely react? Why did Fubuki, one of the biggest pillars in Hololive, barely react? Why did everyone give Rushia the cold shoulder until a few weeks after the drama died down? Obviously, I don't believe the whole everyone hated Rushia rats on 4chan. You can't just fake 2 years worth of memories and moments you make with your genmates and colleagues. So this is what baffles me. Obviously, I have my own speculations about why that happened, but I'd rather keep it to myself so I don't breed rats. It's good that Rushia was able to finally speak out and share her side of the story, and I do think it's a good piece on her end, but her statement doesn't exactly cover everything that happened and is somewhat vague, and I think that's by design. So to me, this just seems like them agreeing to disagree, because while Cover Corp might have allowed Rushia to post that statement, it doesn't necessarily mean that they agree or is happy with it. Basically, Rushia claims that Cover made a mistake, fans see that, and the fact that Cover allowed her to post that statement. Fans then speculate that Cover is being apologetic. Cover then addresses that speculation saying nope, they're not being apologetic, and then they claim that their statement was not a mistake. And that's that. Again, these are all just my opinions. In any case, the details are really only privy to the people involved in the situation and the insiders that worked on it. We will never know what NDA Rushia breached because that would require one to have seen the contract that CoverCorp makes or would require all sorts of mental gymnastics to try and figure out. And even if you do that, you'll probably still be wrong. However, I don't think that's really important at this point. Like I said, nobody gives a shit about who's in the right or who's in the wrong anymore. They're just glad that Mikeneko and Cover are on good terms and that they're still working together to reach a positive conclusion and that she won't be unpersoned. From what we've seen, she won't be blacklisted and the other talents can say her name as they please. Really, the only people that still care as passionately is Rushia's most passionate fans, shit stirrers, and aunties. Everyone else just wants to move on, including myself. But with this video up and out there, I can finally breathe a little deeper knowing that the story of Rushia's termination has come to its conclusion. However, the story of the woman behind her just turned a new chapter and we'll be there to watch it unfold. Hey everyone, thanks for watching the video. I'd like to reiterate that this isn't to respark the drama. Same as all my full story videos, it's just here to document the events that happened. Now, I'm near certain I missed a few things, so if you have something to add, do put it down on the comments below. And if you want to support me, joining my Patreon or memberships will be the best way to do so. Anyway, that's it. See ya.